Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Hi. Let's see. I couldn't come up with a better intro than that. I'm just hoping, actually, can everyone hear me? Tell me if you can hear me. If you can, type something saying, yeah, we can hear you. No. Although you're a few seconds behind me, too, I do believe. Somebody wants me to also type, which I'm good with. Is it Brahan? FG2009. Snacks and Crocs. Hey, how's it going? You got, oh, hey. XGF Mantis. Good, how are you? I'm pretty good, actually. I guess the thing about this video is I decided I might as well go ahead and do something that would kind of buy me some time for the next video. I decided to actually re-edit a video, and several of you told me that I should try and do a live chat, and so I decided, well, all right, I'll try it out. I'll see how it goes. And so saying that you're actually, you are hearing me okay, and you can actually see me too. If you see I'm looking over here, it's because right here is where my screen is. I was trying to put the chat window close enough where it doesn't get in the way, but at the same time, you see the DeLorean? Yeah, it's right there. Have you ever seen that before? Have you noticed that in the pictures or in the videos in the background before? I've actually been meaning to try and update that a little bit. I think I'll go through some of the stuff that's in the background today if you're interested. And I was going to answer some questions and maybe even do a couple of other things, including a little weird unboxing of some stuff I got today. But at any rate, let's see here. So who all do we have? So like I said, you said I did say your name right. Is it Brahan? Did I say that right? FG 2009. And then SGF Mantis. What happened to the Pip-Boy? Oh no, where'd it go? It's right there. So, yeah, actually, do you want to see it? Want to see it a little bit more closely? Yeah, the Pip-Boy? Okay, here, let me see. I actually was a little prepared. Somebody might ask. So some things I can tell you, I'm going to open up. I'll tell you some of the stuff I didn't tell you in the videos. I didn't tell you a little bit about the case that you did. It looks like I'm sweating like crazy. It's really hot here. Is it hot where everyone else is? Probably a little bit, right? So when I unplug it, it's a little harder to see with this kind of lighting because it's pretty bright in here. But one thing I didn't show is that I really like this screen, the sleep mode on the BlackBerry. You swipe up, so I have a Pip-Boy themed, there it is. And when I swipe it up, here's my actual, display. Looks like I might have to restart it though. But anyway, I can show you a couple of things that I couldn't show you inside of the original video. And I'll tell you too, I did find what I can do for the rad meter to try and finish that off. So, anyway, let's see here. Keep in mind, this is my first time trying to do this live. No editing. That's hard for me. I mean, you probably noticed I like to edit things quite a bit. I like to cut things together and have different angles and things like that. Yeah, Wally too is right there. You know, one of the things, well, like I said, I'll show all this stuff to you guys. I'll try and introduce you to everything that I have, including the stuff that's out of shot. Any rate, let's see here. So something I was going to tell you too, some people responded or tried to comment on the story, which is kind of a new feature that YouTube has when you have over so many views. I think they're probably going to open that up to everyone to be able to use. But I used the video feature a couple times for the stories. And this time I accidentally used the photo feature. And when you comment, the only way I can comment back is with a photo. And honestly, I didn't know how to answer some of the questions or some of the comments that I got. So I wanted to make sure that I covered those too. One of the comments was a pretty good one, which was what is my favorite build? boy, that's a hard thing to answer, especially in photo form, which was what they were asking, because I think that changes. This isn't to just be cheesy or anything, but honestly, it's usually the thing that I'm building currently, and the thing that I'm thinking about building also at the time. And so the problem is that I have discovered I'm pretty obsessive. Like when I start to think about building something or purchasing something, and you can tell me if you have the same experience. Like I find that when I go to purchase something that is kind of a cool prop or item, I can't help while I'm waiting for it to arrive, I am watching every opening video. I'm reviewing the specs, things like that. Like I can't stop thinking about it. I'll be at work, whatever else. You probably have that kind of experience too. I'm be building something even, and I can't get my head off of the thing that I'm building and the things that I could do with it, or getting home to be able to just touch it and manipulate it and things like that. So that sort of thing can even keep me up at night. And honestly, yeah, it's something I've had to learn how to somewhat control, is not let it consume my life. But at the same time, truly, whatever I'm working on in the moment, I am so into that's got to be my favorite build in the moment. And then too, like right now, I'm wrapping up one thing that I'm doing the video on for this upcoming week. And then at the same time, I've also got something that I'm planning on, something I found that I want to do, and now I'm consumed in that. And so that's my answer to that. That's my best answer to that question, really. And so, actually, Snacks and Crocs, this relates to your question, which is also one of the comments, the second comment that I had in the story area, which was, what's my favorite game, or what game do I like to play the most? And so, yeah, I do play PS4 a little these days. I have a PS4, or I have a PS3 downstairs, and then we have the PS4 upstairs. I don't do as much Xbox stuff that isn't just on the PC these days. I mean, I don't have a lot of reason not to just use my computer. I have a computer that can handle quite a bit. I play a lot of VR stuff. I'm really into VR. You might have noticed I've had different headsets in the background. It's something that I've been in on the early development kits, and a lot of the early stuff that really got me into that. So I'm still pretty into virtual reality stuff. So there's different kinds of games I like for different reasons. I like a lot of building games. Truth be told, that's part of what I liked about Fallout, was some of the building and real world expansion stuff. There's a lot of games though that do that these days. And so anything that comes along, again, something where I can get really consumed in it and spend a lot of time. Back in the day, I really liked, there was a game called Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I was part of all those forums and things. And when they came up with some of the newer roller coaster and building games, man, I'm really a sucker for those. I've always wanted them to expand those into virtual reality, and they have. I like that sort of stuff. I really like flight simulation quite a bit. I like X-Plane, games like that. I don't know. So basically, yes, Skyrim. I don't I don't play this much anymore. That whole hand view type of gaming. But yeah, there's a place in my heart for it. I have thought about building something that was from either, because that's also I start to do a lot of this when I start to talk about Bethesda, but that's another Bethesda game. Anyway, yeah, that's a good game too. But prefer Fallout. Me too. Let's see here. But anyway, so yeah, that's as far as games go. I like to jump over a lot of things. I like a lot of retro games. I have a retro arcade over here that I built, which I did put a video together back in the day when I first built it, before everyone started to do it, and never have released it. And keep thinking, well, that'll be something I'll do once when the time comes. But I've also been upgrading it a lot. It has a Raspberry Pi 4 now in it, and so maybe I'll do something on that pretty soon. Sorry, I go off on tangents a little bit too. So let's see here. Who plays Fallout 76? There's people out there to play it. I was very excited about Fallout 76. Again, VR aspects of it actually was one of the biggest things. The graphics I was excited about. You know, I know the nickel and diming people kind of get upset about that, but honestly, it's still not a bad game. I like it still. I like all the Fallout games actually. Any rate, is there a favorite? Y'all, I think I put out a little while ago. I think I had some questions about which version you like the most. So, at any rate, is it Kitasaurus Rex? Yeah, kind of boring for me. Yeah, I get that. High Razor Ghost. Sorry, I'm trying to identify everyone that I haven't already identified. Fury Carnage. Hey, Fury Carnage. I just Fury Carnage. Is it Fury Carnage? I just commented to you yesterday. I think it was. But anyway, Mantis, I already talked to you. Yeah, did I catch everyone? Oh, Vacuum Tube Liquor. Hey, you know what? I was thinking about you the other day. Have you seen the movie yet? That is, I'm trying to think now. Is it an Amazon movie? Which is the Vast of Night. If you've seen that, the very opening scene, they try to do kind of a Twilight Zone scenario where they're slowly zooming in on this 1950s set, and it does have the carriage on the bottom, with the stand. And anyway, for some, it made me think of you because you found that TV recently. At any rate, Mr. Chair. All right. So at any rate, let's see. You were actually my first YouTuber to comment back in the Pip Boy video. So excited about. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Back to the Pip Boy. I realized after the fact, and I kind of felt bad about it because naturally I got to talk to Chris Bernardo fairly recently. I had actually been talking to him for about 2 weeks prior to that, and that's how we worked out that whole thing. And I realized after the fact, and if you saw the video, you might have noticed he said that they were actually going to remove this portion where the holotape is in the game. And they only put it back in because he told them how the physics of it would have to work for it to actually be able to do that. And so it wasn't actually going to be in the game originally, but it does open. I realized in the video, I've never opened it on any of the videos that we did, but it does open like that. And here's the holotape. And we actually I have another version of the holotape, which I did figure out a way to be able to transfer information pretty easily because it uses that conductive data transfer, which phone, I think that was brand new when this phone came out, where you can just basically touch the ends of the phones and things to send photos and things like that. So I did figure out a way to do that with the holotape so it could actually carry information. But the only thing I could put on it was videos and things, and I found that the transfer rate was so slow it was neat, but it didn't really matter. But at any rate, so let's see here. I'll show you kind of some of the stuff that's on there. So yeah, we've got, this is what the display typically looks like before I'm trying to get where you can actually see it in the light. Before I get into the different apps, and oops, there we go. And so I can also play videos on here. I have photos. So I put the whole library of all the artwork that was done for Fallout on there, as well as all the videos, intro videos, things like that in my own video. I always had the plan that I take this to some conference and be able to actually let people see it, and it would be running something. And the problem is, like I explained in the videos, unless it was really local where I could drive there, I don't think I could get this into a plane or mail it even without somebody thinking it was something, that could do some damage. But at any rate, so yeah, oh yeah, and up here, let's see if this is charged actually. Oh yeah, if you can hear that. There you go. So there's the speaker too. Which that meant, by the way, that sound meant that it was turning off. This room is below the kitchen in my house, and so people might walk around above it. That's why I usually do videos at midnight. Let's see here. Catching back up here. Well, that would be pretty cool. There's so much that you could make. So the question is related to a prop from Legend of Zelda, and there's so many props you could make from any one of those games, and either making them look like the old 8 to 16-bit graphics to the way that we picture them now. We made an ocarina that's upstairs at one point in time, and in a mask. We made a mask back in the day, but I haven't really revisited that. I'm glad to see people still play it. Let's see here. And I was going to tell you, can you hear the footsteps? Nice replica of the holotape. Yeah. At any rate, I thought I'd show you some of the stuff that's behind me and that's in the room. I don't know how much of the other videos a lot of you have actually seen. For example, the large Marvel Avengers statues that we did are just off to the right of me. That was a big project. That's another one of those videos where it looks like in about 20 minutes I knocked it out, and it was really it took a long time to get all of those, and then I had a 3D print, quite a bit, and then there's the painting and things like that. So naturally, it took a good month to do that, and I actually did that project while I was doing the first Pip-Boy project, because it was just before Halloween. My plan was to go to the essentially Comic-Con that's here. It's NebraskaCon, and I was planning on taking it there, so I was trying to get it ready in time for the end of October. And meanwhile, I was also doing this other project. Like I said, I get really obsessed and do too many projects at once sometimes, and that was pretty overwhelming. So if you go back, you can see there's a big space of time where I took a lot of time to do the next video. And the reason was not because I was just kicking back. It's because I was trying to make something that was quality, and I had too many things going on probably. Let's see here. And so, oh yeah, Borderlands. I actually, there is a prop that I'm going to be doing from Borderlands. And probably not the one that you're thinking that I would do. All I can say is it's a Pip-Boy equivalent. And so I think it's a perfect opportunity to make something and then turn it into actually something else. So it's a little flash forward. I don't normally like to leak things either, because then my fear is I'm not going to end out showing it or releasing it. I did a video. There is one video that people ask me about all the time that I did leak photos to, and the photos are still in a lot of the videos, and that is the Iron Man, or the Tony Stark, the inside of his mansion, from the first 3 movies. Of course, it got destroyed in the 3rd movie, and I have a 4.5 foot by 3.5 feet deep by 2.5 feet high diorama that I made back in the day, and it was pretty high detail, and I did a lot of photographs, and I had it up for a long time, and actually also I had a portion of the room that's above it with the couch and everything else, because at that time the truth is, the way I planned on doing this channel originally was that I was going to animate and make these short films that would premiere at the beginning of the month. And then I would have, like, I'd release a video every week, was my thought back then. And so first video would be the actual production. And then the second week, I would go over the items that I used to make it, like unboxings. Then I would have another one where I don't know, it showed how I made the video. And then I would do another one that just kind of talked about the topic. I don't know, something along those lines. And it was pretty, I think I had my hopes pretty high at the time. And I was ready. I was working on an animation that involved Tony Stark and was wrapped into something else. I'm still planning on doing it, so I don't want to like give you too much, but at the same time, it's been sitting over there. I disassembled it, and it's over there in a giant bicycle box, just waiting to be put back together. So that is my plan, is to do that on a video that's coming up pretty soon. But yeah, if you saw that and you've been wondering why, I did say several times I was going to release it. I never did show anything more than the photos I took. That's where it is. It's right now it's in a bunch of pieces, and I need to repair some portions of it. But that was a lot of fun. Talk about something I was really, really pretty involved in. That's okay. Let's see here. Sorry. Well, everybody has that problem. Is that Math 666 or MTH 666? I don't know. At any rate, so yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, I was going to show you some things that are behind me too. How can I do this though? Let's see. So it actually, this background, the shelves go up one more set above what usually is caught within frame. And so total, it's really a 5x5 set. And all these boxes are about a foot by a foot, by a foot deep. And so this top section from here up is all collectibles and things like that. But below that, those two levels and then 5 across are all the stuff that I used to do the building with. I have everything from my Dremel to, I don't know, I have all sorts of weird stuff that's back there, including projects I thought I would do or start, and they just sit back there, and I've never done anything with them, but I'm sure eventually I'll get around to them. But at any rate, so that's really behind this couch. There's a lot of other things. This couch also opens up, and there's also storage underneath it. And underneath it is just about every kung fu movie in DVD form that you could imagine. I used to be, I still am quite a bit, but not as much as I used to be, really into old kung fu. I mean, the old kung fu movies. And so yeah, I used to collect those and try and find every possible one I could. And so that I can't even probably sell them now. I haven't gotten around to watching them for a long time. I know that. Let's see here. So, at any rate, likes to collect. Well, that's good. Yeah. How many of you that are watching right now collect versus play? Whoa, wait, a lot of stuff just starts popping up right there. Versus just like playing games, or do you collect, or would you consider yourself more of a builder, or would you consider yourself like somebody that just accidentally ran across this channel? You meant to get something different. A black belt in origami. That's awesome. I don't mean to just respond to comments. I should probably be reading them, but I'm guessing this plays back with comments. I'm not sure yet either if I'm going to keep the recorded stream on YouTube or not, because I think I might be revealing some things that I still want to do or share later. Plus, I might share some things that I'd like to deny later on, like some of the Pip-Boy secrets. But at any rate, Yeah. So I'm going to grab some things that are up here. And I'll tell you a little bit about them. Oh yeah, I've got my comfy pants on again, so I apologize for that. Wasn't planning on being filmed. Let's see. So, see if I can bring this down. So this is Bruce Campbell, or at least the figure. It also comes with his little tiny versions, actually, of himself, both on his shoulders and right here. This is actually an action figure. And so this all comes from a movie called My Name is Bruce, which was not a great movie, but at the same time, actually was made by the figure company. So their intention was to try and market it by making this movie. It was about Bruce Campbell being in this I don't know, this weird situation with the guy that movies. It was a pretty typical Bruce Campbell. And one day when I was thinking, well, it's just sad to be here at the moment. All of a sudden, I see that he's coming to speak at our local university, which I actually was teaching at the time. And so I called up somebody at the main offices and said, "Is this really happening? And how do I get involved in this?" And so in the end, we got to spend a couple days with Bruce Campbell, and then I got my figure signed and things like that. So that's what's up in the top left corner. Is I have a Tommy Bahama shirt that's signed by him and some pictures with him and things like that. But anyway, that's what's up there. And then I just got an old phone over here. Then let's see. Oops. If you go back, one of those early builds, which is a little bit fragile at this point in time. This is the dummy that I built. So you can see that on our channel. It's actually still saved. The problem was, so we were trying to do this whole animation thing, and I built that 1/12 scale diorama, but at the same time, there was no, at the time, there is now, there was no 1/12 scale dummy figure. And so this is what I ended out making for it. And so I don't know if you can see all those details. This is just one piece that's up there. I have a portion of the diorama up there as well, with Tony Stark in his partial Iron Man outfit floating above the ground, and some of his tables, work tables and things in the background. Anyway, so that's what is that's up there. Then I have a house up here that is tied to, and just had a recent comeback, actually. If anyone's into it, let's see, bring down Girder too. There we go. So this is actually a DVD set that they sold for a little while there, Vader Zim, and the roof's kind of coming apart. But what I liked about it is it also opens at the top, and then you had Girder that was inside. So if you're into, Invader Zim, I just realized it was played backward. Then this is kind of a fun thing to have. But anyway, so that's that. Then up in the top left corner, I have a cookie jar. It's an R2-D2 cookie jar that I've had since I was, well, when the movie first came out, actually. It's as old as the movie was, I think, or at least a couple of years after that. I was very into Star Wars. It's the first movie in my life I can remember actually going to the movie theater to see, was the fourth episode, or I should say, yeah, the first movie. But at the same time, I remember that pretty clearly, and I was pretty into it. And so we had a cookie jar. It's an R2D2 cookie jar. And right below him is Admiral Ackbar. It's also from one of our videos. But when I moved all this stuff down here, he did have from Robot Chicken. He had the cereal box from Robot Chicken that he would hold inside of his arm. So I've got to make another one of those. But at any rate. And then, yeah, we got Wally right here. My daughter found this bottle cap, Coke bottle cap, that's all rusty and things. So she put it in his hand because, of course, he collects garbage. But at any rate. And then I've already talked a little bit about the Nuka-Cola, things like that. The on the other side, what is Star Wars? That's pretty good. I heard once about this movie, but anyway, over here, I actually have 3 bell jars. One of them has Iron Man in it, and it lights up, which. Oops, he's falling over though, but it does light up. Let's see if the battery still works. Oh, it does. Look at that. So yeah, he stands on there. It's all lit up. And then if I put I don't know if I can hold it and put on the bell jar, but it also lights up the bell jar that way. So yeah, that's kind of neat. There you go. So that's that. But you notice that I used to have, if you really study the background that carefully, I used to have another one that was related to My Neighbor Totoro, which if you don't know My Neighbor Totoro, man, you gotta look that up. It's pronounced Ghibli, but I still call it Ghibli because it's more accepted and makes more sense. I had one that was up here that was related to that theme, and after hearing Chris Bernardo's story about My Neighbor Totoro, when they were showing the video in Japan, I decided to give him that bell jar. And so I shipped it to him. I put special packaging around it too that he couldn't throw away, just to kind of show him for the Pip-Boy. That serves him right for sending things in packages you can't throw away. But at any rate, I decided to send it to him as a gift. And then right after I sent it, it just feels, I miss it. So I decided to start making another one. And so I have a different bell jar kind of video that I might do down the road. But at any rate, I think bell jars are kind of cool. They're great for collectibles. If you need to store something that's kind of tall. Is that a Dalek back there? I don't have any more. I did have a whole bunch of Doctor Who stuff that used to be right where the Pip-Boy is. The only Doctor Who thing I do have is, speaking of Chris, you probably saw we did a little trade because I did send him something. He sent me this. So what's cool about this? I have other sonic screwdrivers, but this one's a little different. First off, it's all metal, except for this part right here. And they actually made 2 versions of this, and I think this is the one that's the one that was all metal. But the cool thing about this, one of the cool things, is that not only does it act as a sonic screwdriver, but it is also a universal remote. I got to be careful because I might turn on some other things for real. And the way that this remote works is, there we go, is that you can, like if I want to turn something on, I push it in. If I want to turn it off, I pull back, turning up the volume, turning it down, change the channel up, change right or left. And so that's kind of neat. Also, something that he revealed only to us that they don't have in the packaging that doesn't tell you is that when it's in its upright mode and still turned on, it'll flash just randomly, which most people that would buy it would just think, oh, it's just flashing. what it was actually doing is it's in Morse code. It's doing. I think it might be doing it right now. It's giving you some of the different doctors' sayings, like bow ties are cool, things like that. But anyway, so that was kind of cool. I'm gonna try and figure out how to turn it off first. I'm gonna try and figure out a way that I can better store and display that. But anyway, so right now it's over there with some of his other stuff. What else do I have? Oh yeah, Indiana Jones is just out of view right here. This is the sideshow version of Indiana Jones. I wanted to get, this is the Raiders of the Lost Ark version. I really wanted to get one of those 12-inch figures as well as, that scene. But the thing is, they're very different. Each one of them is very different. The clothes are very different. So Hot Toys has one that has the, they have some of their figures. When you take the hat off, for example, you can move the eyes, which is semi-creepy, but pretty neat at the same time. But the head sculpt wasn't that great in general. Sideshows was probably the best of the head sculpts, and so that's why I got the Sideshow one. But the clothes weren't that great. And so the Hot Toys clothes were better. And then, there's some other things that just from one group to the other, if you really want the perfect figure, this is where you kind of have to kit bash it. And so that's what I did. It's actually a combination of all those figures. I've not been watching too closely. How is the Put Boy coming along? Well, like I said, I'm kind of working right now on the rad. Oh yeah, I do want to show you something. so the rad meter, I did get it figured out. The thing I'm trying to decide right now is if I want it to measure more, if I want it to be an actual Geiger counter, which is an option. I did get an actual Geiger counter that is that small. The problem with it being that small is it's not going to pick up anything unless I'm going to be carrying around radioactive materials with me, which everyone that's shown this particular version has had a jar that's encased of some material that then they expose it to, and they have to put it right up next to it. If I was at a conference or something, the needle is not going to move at all. In fact, that's one thing too, is it doesn't have an actual meter on it. And so I did figure out a way to do that too, but it's it's like doing a lot of work and spending a lot of money for something that unless you're in Chernobyl, it might be too soon to say that, but at the same time, you'd have to be somewhere where the radioactivity or the radiation level is so high, that it's more than just standing in the grocery store next to the banana section. I mean, pretty high. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that or if I want to go more with EMG. So here's one of the things I got today. I've been experimenting with and kind of exploring a lot of options. And one of the things that I saw online that I looked at and I thought, well, this is about the right size. I wonder if that would work, because I like the meter. That's the actual meter that's on it. And normally these go for a lot more money, like $50 to and up. Strange, like really high prices. And this one had or best offer on it. So I said $10 and they said $15. And I said, all right, I'll do $15. And this is a ghost meter. Yeah, it's a ghost meter. And the best part isn't so much the meter itself, which is funny because it actually says ghost meter on it. And but it is pretty good at, I'm guessing with the microphone. Oh, maybe not. Radioactive as far as electromagnetic radiation, usually they are in microphones, and it's not picking up anything right now, but it was earlier. But anyway, so it does a pretty good job though of picking up that magnetic radiation, and the needle does. It's hard to get something also that doesn't just jump straight across. This one's sensitive enough that it actually will move in different levels. That's not so much what I like about this. What I like is what came with it. So these are the instructions and things. So first off, it has these instructions, and it says, like, it has a picture right here. right there of a ghost. And it says, Associated Press picture from CNN News of Henry VIII. And at any rate, but shows, says the official ghost meter of many ghost clubs in America. So I don't know if that means like people that are in clubs where they try to find ghosts, or if we're talking about like ghosts that join clubs, or is it a club only for ghosts? Like you can't get in if you're not. I don't know, but apparently this is the one to use. When you turn it on, it sounds like a bulletin or something. This in, at any rate, but that's that. Yeah, it talks about how great their camera is, and then it has an ad for computers and monitors that don't put out magnetic radiation, and then it has a letter from the editor. And you think this is probably something, you're probably thinking that it has something to do with the ghost meter, right? Or ghosts or radiation. And it says, there's many hidden hazards present today in homes. There's more than 3 million poisonings every year. And goes on to say that cancer and things like that can be cured using this special herb that they recommend. But at any rate, so yeah, they're like, oh, you're willing to buy this? You'll probably buy this other stuff too. Any rate, so yeah, that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty great. Let's see. Studio Ghibli. Oh, I can't see it. Let's see. Oh, boy, it jumped and now I can't see anything. Star Trek. Yeah, I'm planning on doing a Star Trek thing actually very soon. I guess it doesn't matter if I tell you. Basically, there is a cartoon from when I was a kid, and I was really into the first Star Trek. And then when the Next Generation came out, I initially thought I wouldn't be into it, and then I got really into that and watched every episode multiple times. Things like that. I was pretty into Star Trek. But there was also a cartoon series, which wasn't just a cartoon series, just a Saturday morning cartoon series. No, this was actually after the series had technically ended. They hired the real cast, most of them, to do this cartoon series. So I mean, it has William Shatner, and I mean most everybody is in it. And the story is that. Actually, and of course, Spock has the real Spock, and the story is that the actors wouldn't do the show unless they hired some of the other actors to be in it. So for that reason, it does have most of the original actors. But if you watch this thing, I mean, outside of the fact that the storyline is actually pretty good. It's quite good. And it carries on where the series left off. So you actually get the rest of the years that they're supposedly, on their mission. But the best part is that the company which made most all the cartoons back when I was a kid, they cut a lot of corners. And so they even tried to cover it up. At one point in time, they used Uhura's voice that they had recorded for a different episode to fill in for Spock's voice for some line that they probably couldn't get. They had where the clothes would suddenly change because they didn't want to redraw it. And so portions of the uniform would suddenly appear versus the clothes that they were wearing. It is awesome. If you get an opportunity to watch it, I didn't watch it again until recently. I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't that into it. But it is, on one hand, it's really hilarious. And on the other hand, it's actually a pretty good show. So, but yeah, I'm actually making a prop that I think people would appreciate. But anyway, oh my God. Kirk or Picard? That's a good question. Boy, I honestly think all the captains have been pretty different captains, don't you? They really are. So I don't think they're really that comparable. seems like everyone also becomes admirals or and then they all get demoted. So technically, they're not really all captains. But yeah, I do like the Picard series. I think it's very different though. If you're going into it thinking it's going to be another Next Generation kind of show, I think you have to accept it for what it is. But at any rate, long and prosper. We'll see you later. I'll hide him back. So what else? What did I skip over? Oh yeah. Speaking of Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, or however you want to put it. Of course, Saitama's not part of that. But so I've had a lot of people comment about these two figures in the back. This is One Punch Man right here. This is from a Studio Ghibli movie called Spirited Away. It is pretty dark. It's a great movie. I will say too, if you like VR, and you weren't part of the DK2, the developers kit, the second one that was for the Oculus, you probably didn't get to see some of the builds that were of all the Studio Ghibli scenes that you could literally walk into, and they looked perfect. I mean, it looked like you were really inside the actual animation. But when they, when the new version released of the Oculus, I think they didn't get released into it because, of course, all the Studio Ghibli stuff is copyrighted and it wasn't made by Studio Ghibli. So for that reason, I think though recently I found that you can still access those VR. I don't know if you call them games, but you can still access those online through third-party groups. But at any rate, this is a great one. But the thing I like about it is that you've put some coins into the dish, and his mouth, the batteries are running low. His mouth opens, and he eats it, and so it goes into the body. Whoops, he's going to go do it again. But anyway, so there's that, and then is everyone familiar with One Punch Man? Has everyone seen that? No. I've had a lot of comments saying that he's in the background, and it's true. This is a great show. This one and Mob Psycho are pretty kind of similar in their style and their the comedy and things. So I like both those shows, and both of these figures I found while I was in Texas in Flower Mound. Well, actually, right next to that, Grapevine, Texas. Flower Mound is where Funimation is and where they do a lot of the voiceover work. So if you saw my Funimation pictures from when I was there, yeah, anyway. So, oh yeah, and then of course the DeLorean that's in the corner. Its batteries are dead, but it actually does light up and makes the sounds and things. The thing that I don't like about it so much that I've been planning to upgrade, part of what I was going to upgrade on it was Mr. Fusion. It doesn't have the full Mr. Fusion. I don't know if that's because they couldn't get rights for some reason to be able to do that. Mr. Fusion is a take from Mr. Coffee, which was more in the 80s. I don't think they exist anymore, but any rate. So what do I think about Fallout 4 TV show that's going to come out from Amazon? I didn't even know about that. That's good. Is that really something that's happening? Boy, I got to look that up. So, boy, I would totally check that out. Is that something that's already filmed, or is that something they're proposing? I don't know. That's Matthias Overlay. Did I say your name right? I hope so. But at any rate, yeah, that'd be very cool. I would love to see that. Any rate, if you like the game called Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the which actually my kids watch that or have watched that. I have kids that aren't really kids anymore, some of them, but the other ones are actors proposing. They're only proposing that. Boy, that would be really cool, though. I wonder if we could get everyone behind that. Try and push that forward. That would be pretty neat to see a Fallout TV show. So it's going to be a show, like a series, and not a movie. I liked. Okay, I've liked some of the anime to live version movies that have been done before. Some of them, it just kind of depends. The one of the Death Note movies was pretty good. That was made, the live version. I gotta get a drink here. I noticed, by the way, I apologize if you watched the second Chris Bernardo video. You might have noticed my mouth clicked a lot. It annoyed the heck out of me when I was going back and editing it because it was loud. I don't know why. It's something I don't even notice normally. But I didn't have a chance to like edit it again. So maybe that's what it was. Is I didn't have a chance to get a drink in between. So at any rate, the equipment, I have been asked about my equipment. Also in comments for the YouTube story thing. The camera that you're currently seeing me through, the one that is my front camera, and that's how I divide up the shots. My front camera is a Canon 80D, and I don't think I have a wide lens on it right at the moment. Sometimes I do. I also have mounted on top of it a Must HD overhead display. I've got a camera, I have a couple of different mics. The one that I have in here right now is a Rode. Well, it's one of the Rode mics. All my mics are Rode mics, but I don't know what the model is on this one. What I like about it is it's self-powered, so you can actually charge it, and then you can connect it to something without needing the device to be powering it. It seems like a lot of my other mics, you have to have a pretty major setup, and it's not very portable. This one is. I also have some dead rats I can put on him. And the dead rat's what keeps the sound of wind and things like that out. I have a couple of large LED light sets. I have a hairline that's over there that I have never used. And then I've also got, this is my side camera. So one of the two side cameras I use is a Canon G7X. And then I also have used my phone as the second view, and that is a Note 8. So there you go. No, I didn't go to the 10, if that's one of your questions. Welcome back. And so, what soldering equipment do you recommend? For what type of soldering? I have actually, I have not become gutsy enough to use the micro soldering stuff that we bought yet. I really want to. I have a couple of old computers that I would really like to repair, and the only way I could do that is through micro solder. And yet I don't know. I don't have the confidence just yet. I think I'd really like to have somebody actually do it in front of me to see. I have no experience using them, and so I don't know. I think it really depends on how big of what you're doing. Honestly, soldering in the end. It's kind of like, well, I can't really say that. That's not really true. For example, I use, this seems like a jump, but it's not. I use, for my glue gun, I use one that is industry standard, which means you can't just go buy it at every store because the extruder gets hotter than they're supposed to get for the general population. So you're more likely to have fires and you're more likely to get people burnt. On the upside, it's hot enough that when I put glue down, it sticks. It's great. It's really, I don't have to worry about it clumping or getting hard or anything like that. The downside is I've had some pretty serious burns from a glue gun. I mean, like maybe need to go to the ER level burns. And so, and it's always something stupid too. That's the way it is. Soldering iron, I have a giant hole in my carpet over there because I was using a soldering iron to try and melt together, which does work, by the way. If you do 3D print something and you do it in iron, and so let me see if I can get my 3D print here. Hang on a sec. So another project that I haven't finished or gotten to. I've got the eyes up there, the light up, and the display for the inside. But this is iron PLA. So this is actual iron, an Iron Man mask that I 3D printed. And I love iron. I love printing with it. It is, I like wood and I like iron. And because they sand really well, you might notice you can't see the lines where it was printed. The lines that you do see it was an attempt to, was experimenting with some different things. But at any rate, I did though accidentally had this inside the car, and this was last summer, and the two sections popped apart, like literally blew apart because there must have been some air in there, and it just popped it apart. So when I went to put it back together, I took some of that iron PLA and a soldering iron, because the inside it won't matter, don't need to see, and it goes together really well. But this is actually, I've learned since then, there's even easier ways for me to make it, and it's really smooth and joins things together very well. So I think a soldering iron is a great way to go for being able to do some things with PLA. But I did burn a hole in my carpet because I got too distracted. That's the worst. Don't do projects on the floor. I keep on saying don't do things at home and stuff like that, because honestly, it doesn't seem like these things should be dangerous, but they so are. But the Pip-Boy could have gone so wrong. That first mess up on one of those BlackBerry phones is that when I did it, it made it where it wouldn't charge. And instead, it was heating up. It was drawing too much electricity at that point. So the thing that limits it was broken, and suddenly I could tell it was about to blow up. So, at any rate, let's see here. Also catching up on things. I don't know if that really answered your question, but honestly, I think you could get the cheapest soldering iron out there. I have a few, and I think the cheaper ones were just as good as the more expensive ones. As far as if you're looking at a tip that is a little bit more fine, I mean, then you're doing it based on that tip, not so much by the heat. I don't personally feel you need it for the heat. You think about the Fallout 4. Okay, I recovered that. Yes, I watched My Hero Academia, or at least I did. I don't know. It's kind of like the same reason why I stopped watching One Piece. Is they have these arcs that last forever. So they get into a battle, and the battle is fine, and it's interesting until 6 episodes later. And when you're binge watching it is one thing. I mean, imagine watching this where literally you have to wait a week to see like just a little tidbit of another portion of the fight. So, and I do tend to watch a lot of those. But at any rate, so yeah, I do like the show, and I did watch it, and I probably watch it again once when I know kind of where I can jump to, because like with One Piece, I jumped over several arcs when I got to a certain point, and it made it watchable again. But I've been watching quite a few new anime shows, and I do kind of binge watch them, mostly through Funimation, not so much through Crunchyroll anymore. I also canceled my Verve account not too long ago because I wasn't they weren't releasing new stuff just yet. So anyway, yeah, wasn't it? It was really, really long. That's exactly the reason why I did that. But at any rate, I bought 3 new props, 2 coins from Curse of the Black Pearl, and small. I think you told me. Oh, you didn't tell me about the Chewbacca costume. You know, I wasn't. Yeah, if you're looking at doing some real prop collecting and finding some real props, I've got somebody big that I'm going to be talking to on the channel. I mean, big in just about every way you could imagine. That knows how to do it and do it right. And so, and I'm going to try and see if I can pick some things that for a good price that would meet muster to his beliefs. But yeah, boy, it can be addicting. That's something. Boy, be careful when you get into real prop collecting for movies. When I was younger, when I was a young boy, I used to when it was really when I was a kid. Universal Studios wasn't just like a bunch of rides you went to. When I was a kid, the only thing that you went to Universal Studios to do was to get taken on the lot. And they had a tour that was literally like 3 hours and had these stopping points. And they would take you not only onto some of the real sets, but they would take you to the prop department and things like that. And I used to love that. So when my parents would ask me, because we used to have to go there for business trips when I was a kid. And so while my dad was working, then my mom and I would go to one theme park. We'd pick one theme park, and they'd ask me which one, and it would always be Universal because I wanted to go see the stuff and see how things were made, because that's where my true interest was film. And so, but back then, I used to also call Universal Studios. I don't know if you can still pull this off now, but into my teens, I would call up that prop department, which wasn't hard to get to. I'd call up Universal Studios and I'd say, "Hey, can you give me the prop department?" And I'd get the prop department. And then, and there's different divisions of the prop department. And I'd ask them, "Hey, do you have this? Do you have that?" And they were always willing to talk to me, but it wasn't like they were going to. I think in my mind, I daydreamed that they'd be like, "Oh, we've got all this stuff. We're just getting rid of it. You want me to send it to your house?" Of course, that wasn't the reality. So, but yeah, I bet it's an expensive. Wow, you do. So, also, so Connor's saying that they have a lot of different props that they've purchased, and it hurts the wallet, and it's true. But boy, those are some cool props. Batman and Robin stuff. So the coolest prop that I found recently that I'm so tempted to buy. I haven't checked back to see if the prop store still has it or not. The prop store is a good source, by the way. Guaranteed, it's really from the films, or it's really screen used. And the screen used prop that I found that was on there the other night on the prop store is from Galaxy Quest, and it's a piece of the space station at the beginning, when the ship's pulling out and you see all the aliens waving. So that they were using practical effects. And so there's this big section that they're selling, and it's a backlit thing. And so there's then little tiny cells. They took photographs of all the aliens waving. So that's not CGI. It's just a picture of them all going like this. And then it lights up, and I thought, man, you could like hang that on your wall. That would be so cool. And it's screen used, and it's kind of a major part of the movie, and it was a really good price too. So I would be happy if somebody out there gets that, wants to take some pictures for me, just to fulfill my need to be able to see some more angles of that thing. I would love that. But at any rate, yeah. But so at any rate, any other major questions. I kind of got lost because the thing was scrolling so fast. But at any rate, also be nice to each other out there. Come on. Now it's rolling again. Let's see here. Fallout London mod team. Oh, that's pretty cool. Man, I got to the point with some of the mods where I had so many 3D models and skins and whatever else that was on my computer. It was actually bogging down the computer. That used to be true with some of these roller coaster games and things too. I just kind of get out of control on it. But at any rate, so yeah, you got to watch out how much you do. So how about what's the next big project? Well, that is a very good question. So I've got 3 that are in the fire right now. The first one, the one that I put off, the one that was supposed to be really this week, and I guess this is a good transition, a good thing to reveal. So what happens usually with these videos? Kind of like even this video. When we did both of these, I'll think, okay, I'm going to do something simple, and I'm going to do it pretty quick. So it'll be an easy edit. Won't use much time. I can just enjoy the build and not worry about it. And then what happens is I'll film all that stuff, and I'll be editing, and then all of a sudden I'll think, well, you know what would be really cool is if we did some kind of intro, like the intro that was on the initial Pip-Boy video, as well as the whole the scene that I did where it also had some drawings and some animation and all this other stuff that happens in between. That stuff that I come up with the last second, and then we film it. The update movie where it shows Timmy walking. And he's walking through the alleyway, and then he's walking down the street and things like that. I came up with that about a week before we posted the video, and that's usually how it happens. I think, well, it would be really cool if we did do another intro, and then I come up with these pie in the sky ideas, and then decide, yeah, let's go try and film this. And so I take Timmy. And I said, well, let's just run around town. Now, I do have a little bit of a film background before I went into what I actually do for work nowadays. I was in film school too, before I switched over and got my doctorate in something totally unrelated. So, I mean, I know enough to know what you're supposed to and supposed to not do. And one of those things is that if you go and film in public, you're really supposed to be getting permits. And if what you're doing looks like you're filming, you might get somebody that'll come up to you, an officer that'll come up to you, and you will have to pay a fine for not getting a permit. It's how some cities actually make a lot of their money. It's just from those permits and also from making sure that local people are getting hired and things like that. So you got to watch out for that. And there is a trick to that, which is just don't get caught. And so when we filmed that, because we were particularly using a lot of places you're really not supposed to film to, you can't be too close to railroad tracks without police showing up either. And so I literally would pull up to each of these sites, including the alleyway scene. We'd throw down the camera and I'd say, okay, go walk in. And then he'd walk down there. He'd run back. I'd pick up the camera. It's still filming. Run back to the car, go to the next location. And in that update video too, there's a location here that has something that looked like a nuclear facility. And next to it, there's even this giant cannon that's out front. I mean, just a weird location. And so I had to film there too. So we filmed that all in one day. And again, we're supposed to release this video by the end of the week. That's the plan. And then the next day it snowed. It went from being super hot to snowing. And so I said, okay, let's go back out. We went back to one of the locations, and I mean, not just a little bit of snow. I mean, like the trees. If you watch, the trees are moving like this and stuff like that. And so I set up everything out in the cold, and then I had him get out and quickly walk over, and then run back to the car. And so, I mean, that's how quickly we do things. And then set up a giant green screen on the driveway. Most of the stuff that was for the underground scene, that's all filmed on my driveway. And then I throw together the video. I mean, that was all the effects and stuff like that. If you think that I'm like spending a long time doing those, I didn't. And I did it in Premiere. I didn't use After Effects. So that is, it's more impressive than it sounds. But at any rate, then I keep on getting like different. Oh yeah, the sock. If you saw the Darn It, the sock scene too, that's in that was the night before we released it. So I had this idea halfway through. I thought, I really should do another video about the fact you shouldn't be doing this stuff at home, and grabbed a sock and glued some eyes onto it, and came down here and went to film the shot. And so I can see, I had a monitor up above so I could see where the sock was in placement. And I brought up the sock slowly, and my plan wasn't to have it come up out of the scene. But when you see the video, I mean, it looks so weird, even watching it live, where it's coming up really slowly. It was so uncomfortable and creepy. I was like, I gotta leave that in. That looks great. And so at the beginning, it's all quiet, and he comes up like that. I had to keep that. I think I got more, and that was all ad lib too, by the way. That wasn't a script. So I just kind of came up with all the stuff about the sock having it came from a pear, and the other sock was burned alive because it was trying to repair phones and things like that. But at any rate, so any rate, that's typically how our projects go. And the one that I've kind of postponed, same kind of thing. I've got these weird things that we're trying to do right now that maybe I won't be able to pull off. So I hate telling people, because then now you know, and you might expect it, and hopefully I can pull it off. But just so you know, yeah, these are not things that we're spending tons and tons of time on. I work a full-time job, and we're doing these at night and whatever else. So that makes it better. I think it just makes it more interesting, because we go pretty far considering what we put into it. Sorry, I haven't been watching close enough. So let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing about Timmy, before I move off this topic, when I did that initial video, I didn't have, it wasn't like I was thinking about the Timmy that's actually in there is a Fallout Timmy that you actually have to do something to, that's dead. So you have to punish Timmy at some point in time, and in order to get this item, and you have to figure out what that even means. And so you have to destroy this skeleton of a Timmy. But that wasn't my plan. I don't think that they're associated. That could be the backstory. I don't know. But at the same time, I did decide to go a little bit dark and to come up with some things that I would hide inside the video. So that update video, at least, the update video, the introduction, has several things that unless you're a Fallout fan, you won't understand. And it's trying to give you a dark story about who in the world this scientist is. So if you know enough about Fallout, and you go back and watch it really closely, then you're gonna figure out what he was involved in, and all that stuff, and maybe why he's down there by himself. So that's pretty good, and that maybe he's not really tied to Robco, even though he would have been inside their building in the basement. So if that's enough to give you, so you can figure that one out, then it's Yeah, I had to do that just for Fallout people. And there's some clues in there. I also want to make sure it was exactly the same length. So if it seems like it's cut funny, that second one, the update intro, it's because I wanted to make it the exact same length as the first intro. So the first intro seems like it's really short, and the second one seems like it might be really long because a lot happens in it, but they're the same length. They're both, I don't know if anyone cares about that, but I thought it was super interesting. At any rate, yeah, did the one company, did the one company tell you anything about the Fallout cars? Like, what's the next releases and when? Just as far as the cars themselves, you know, he told me some things I'm not supposed to talk about, but they're not tied to Fallout stuff, I don't think. In relation to the cars, I think the cars are done. I can email him and ask, but I'm pretty sure they are. He brought up and we were sending pictures of cars the other day to each other that would fit that frame. I sent him one that looks almost exactly the same. The rear of the car is exactly the same design, and it's a 3-wheel car that's from the 1950s. But getting a hold of this particular car is super expensive. I had to look at what that was. And so he's like, nope, too expensive, and sent me one that is the kind that you could only get in Europe. I mean, a lot of these small cars that they make in Europe would fit that kind of chassis, but also a 3-wheel car that somebody's trying to sell right now for, I think it was like a few $100s. So it's like, well, we could use this one. But at any rate, so as far as a life-size one, I know that's definitely a project he would love to do. And so, at any rate, and he's located in England. So let's see here. There's the cars thing. Can you react to my music? I can't hear you, music. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can't hear you, music. But if you want to send me something, Fallout London is interesting development. Yeah, that sounds really cool. So, let's see here. Still Fallout London. At any rate, what else can I tell you? Do you have any ideas on something unique that I could make for my Fallout Enclave officer cosplay? Oh, man. There's so many things you can do. But, the hard thing is, when it comes to cosplay, I'm not somebody that likes to do the exact outfit. I like to do something that is a crossover of something. That was the reason why that was, by the way, the outfit that I had inside the video was just kind of a thrown together literally last minute thing that I made, even using nails and stuff. I made a Vault-Tec tie holder and things like that. But typically for some of our other ones, it's usually something that's a crossover. I think I've only posted like one thing that I've done as actual cosplay, and it wasn't really crossover. But when I think of stuff, boy, I think it would be cool to just take some of the different. Oh man, there's so many little things that you could include that you could just be somebody random in the world. That's the best part about that game, is you get to create who you are. The characters, for the most part, are not the same person unless you're just selecting, whatever the default is. I just want to get off this scene. Who cares what I look like in the mirror? Let's get on to the game. Let's get into that vault. I think there's some pretty cool things that you could come up with that use some random pieces that are hidden or create some things that would be just really neat. I don't know. If you come up with stuff that, whether it's cosplay or props, I would love to see whatever you got. I would love to put it in several, we can put it in the community area. That would be neat to just see what people are coming up with, because we can't go places this year. You can't go to a local con. I don't know. Maybe some of you are. But yeah, the last Comic-Con that Casaris Rex went to did full armor cosplay. Wow, that'd be pretty cool. The Nightingale from Skyrim. Really? Did you also do this bit? That'd be pretty cool. I did you do all the little tiny details and things too? I know a lot of people are using the foam for doing some of those armor um, outfits, but man, just if you're willing to put the time into it, there's so many tiny details. If you're going to do something from Skyrim, I mean, go all out, do all the gold lay and stuff like that, all the little tiny intricate details. Um, that'd be pretty neat. So, yeah, I bet it took for months. Yeah, it probably did. Did you have a skeleton key? I bet he did. You used fun. Oh, you did? Okay. Well, so, I mean, the problem with using real metal is naturally it's really heavy and it gets really hot. Um, but there are other options. Actually, if you have a 3D printer and you have a lot of time and you get a lot of PLA, you'd be surprised how light things can be. As long as you're not printing them solid. The same thing with chainmail. I got to fill some chainmail that was printed, and it was super light. And they had it right next to a metal chainmail, and the difference was amazing. So I think you can make stuff. I mean, like again, real iron. You can make a lot of things that are a lot lighter and that you can handle. The problem with props like this one is it's great and all, but wearing it on my arm, I mean, it really is heavy. No joke. The things in Fallout don't follow real physics, real world stuff. So for that reason, they don't really work, or they're too heavy. I mean, naturally, I'm not going to be lifting a car with that thing. But typically, if you're just doing standard cosplay stuff, you wouldn't do something that was this heavy. You'd be aiming to try and make it light. This was more to make something that actually, seemed like it was functionable and did what it was supposed to do. But any rate, one thing too I'll say about this is that I wish we could post more of. If you want to give me your permission to post your build, which I don't have the thing on, of the Pip-Boy, if you did something similar to this or better, because there are people that have figured out how to rotate that screen after all by actually rewriting the code and changing the app. I think it'd be great if we could have all these things that came out of this. One of the builds that I got to see was he came up with a way. Although you have to get rid of the holotape area, they dremeled this area and up into here, and then they kept their phone 100% as it was and made it where they just slid it up into there and then closed up the holotape area and then left the hole right here where they could charge it. So, I mean, if you want to go even a route where you don't have to take things apart and stuff, that was pretty cool. Super Sludge Boy, they sell a version of that at GameStop right now. Any new projects from Fallout? I do have, well, outside the Pip-Boy one, there is another one. Again, I'm always afraid to talk too much about them because then I might not end up finishing it. But I do have something that I kind of got inspired to do when we were having that conversation with Chris, and it's going to be a pretty long-term project. So we'll see. I do. I also have some models that have never been seen that are related to the game, and so I'm actually hoping to do something with one of those. Oh, speaking of which, also related to the update video, some of the pop machine at the beginning, the Nuka-Cola pop machine. I took some of the artwork that they had for Fallout, which there's a whole book, and I think it was for the New Vegas though, that I took, and I took two of my Coca-Cola pop machine. I have two small miniature Coca-Cola pop machines And one is the ones that you pulled the bottle out of. The other one is the 1970s. It's the real thing machine. And I took those and stole parts from each one to create a photo version of that, or a real life looking version of that machine. So that also was not taken from the game. That's actually something that I made from models of Coke, little Coke machines that are probably about, I think they're 1/12 scale, but anyway, a little bit bigger than that. But still, that's how I made those. Let's see here. This is BlackBerry passport. Okay, let's see. Oh boy, there's a lot of new stuff since I last looked. That's the worst thing about this. I try to look in the camera, but okay. So, do you manage caps, resistors, transistors, etc., and make sure that they go in the right place? Are you talking about on the BlackBerry, or are you talking about in general when I'm doing stuff like that? I mean, you would prefer to. I do much better with bigger stuff, like Raspberry Pi and stuff like that. I've taken apart a lot of phones in my past, but I don't think I've ever had one before where I accidentally knocked some things off, and I also wasn't testing to see, because I was doing it live on video. Wasn't testing to see, what I was getting back as far as a current or anything like that. But construction. What about that construction first you can get? That would be cool. I'm not sure what you're asking on that one. Let's see here. What if you could make a hub for all the heavy machinery and stream video through the Pip-Boy, making it way more comfy to use? Wow, that is quite the idea. I think that your icon is Linus. Yeah, that is pretty good. That would be pretty neat. Maybe you should try that. Let me know how that goes. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Let's see here. As far as, you don't have an answer, but if you want to, what is your favorite Fallout game and Fallout faction? Just wondering. Fallout game wise, it's kind of like with children. You're like, well, these are the things that I like. These are the things that make them all great. I don't know if everyone's got into it, but I like New Vegas. And I also liked, that's pretty good. I think, man, the Nuka-Cola expansion was pretty good too. But really, New Vegas, there's something about it that I just really liked. Plus, it gets into some of that, the background. In ways that, in the music, I mean, I don't know. There was a lot in the models. Actually, the update video that we did, what we were trying to fake at the beginning, part of that was supposed to be from the New Vegas. We have a gas station in town that looks almost exactly like one of the gas stations that they use in that, which are real gas stations and not really. Actually, one of them's from California and not really from Vegas, but so I think that might be the one that might be my favorite. I don't know. That's probably what I would say. As far as by the way, the Blackberries. Let's get to that. So there is a video. I don't know if you know this, but some people have taken our Pip-Boy build and made other videos, or made videos about our videos. Like Wonderworld did one, and he actually says at one point in time, like the amount that I spent keeps increasing, and by the end, I think he said like I spent like $600. No, I didn't. No. I mean, what I put in the video is when I went on to eBay and things like that. At the time that we made the video, that was about the averages of some of the costs of those items. when I make things like that, I mean, I'm trying to find the cheapest I can. The first BlackBerry, I did spend a little bit more on, but I think I spent like 50 something dollars for the first one. And after that, I figured out, because the way I'd built the first one, or the way that I figured out the other ones needed to be built, which really, let's all call that one a sacrifice. So nobody should do the same thing I did with the very first one, which is take the whole thing entirely apart. That's what I did. I took it completely apart, had the board separate, had the screen separate, all that stuff. There was no reason for any of that in the end, is what I figured out from the way that I decided to approach it in the end, which is just buy because the initial screen won't work anyways. Not very well. You're gonna have to do some things to it. It's not worth it. Buy the separate screen. It's only like $10 to buy the separate screen that doesn't have the backing on it. And so what that means, though, benefit wise, of trying to purchase one of these Blackberries, is buy a broken one. Look for broken screens. When I used to buy cell phones and repair them, I would always look for phones with broken screens or with something that I didn't care about, like who the service provider was. You know, if you're looking for a certain service provider and a certain phone that's completely working and perfect and new, I had a couple of people write me and say, but a brand new one. I want to get only a new BlackBerry. That's not smart. Why do you want to do that? But at the same time, buy one with a broken screen. All the internals will still work. I'm going to be popping off that screen's ribbon and sticking on a new one. And so the two phones that I bought that were after that, one of them was $30, and then the other one, they basically found out that I was trying to get a hold of that when I purchased another part, and they bundled it. And so I think I spent like almost a little less than $30 for that one. So I didn't spend that much. So that's what I would recommend. If you're really looking at doing this, I'll say this too. It's not as hard as what the video shows, because I did a lot more work at the beginning, trying to figure out how the thing even works. BlackBerry makes their phones to try and be more secure than other phones. That's one hard thing about it. There's a whole group out there that all that they focus on is Blackberries. The whole Hackberry group that's out there. You type in the word Hackberry, and you're going to find a lot of people who know how to get through some of the securities of that phone to make it work and to do some of the things that we want to do, and to do it cheap. And so in the end, I didn't spend very much. I put that phone together, and did you hear that? That was the Pip-Boy. That means that the battery's running low because I don't have it plugged in at the moment. But at any rate, so that's kind of funny. Or actually, it's the battery for this is what was going out. But at any rate, so can you see that? Here's the screen, by the way. It's going. But I think, it's pretty reasonable. So you just buy the BlackBerry, broken screen, and then when you do that, get a new screen that has no backing on it. That is pretty important. And then I'll have to plug this in later, because I can't do it right now. And then from there, the main hard parts are you're just taking off the back. That's not hard. And then the keyboard, there's a little ribbon on the back, a little tiny one, that you just flip off, and that's the keyboard. I think there's a couple of screws. There's no reason to take out the battery either. That's another big mistake I made with the first one. Taking batteries out of phones, especially like that, because what they do is they glue them to the backing. And so when you peel them off, you have a big chance of ruining the battery, and again, explosion, fire hazard, whatever. So you don't take anything else off. You just get that keyboard off. And then I trimmed the there's the bezel that goes around. I cut that, and so all that I had at the end that was sticking out was that little USB section, and then make sure that you kind of support that. So I created something to some plastic parts and things that supported that little section that sticks out, and then I stuck that into the outer casing. That was it. That's how I made it work. And it's a lot easier to do it that way than it is to go digging into the thing. So there's nothing really to be too fearful of. Oh, I did also. There is something to be careful of. All these. One of the comments that was up here. One thing that you do have to be careful of is that I do have all these little headers and things like that. They're sticking up, and I want to make sure that some of those are covered. I used Kapton tape for that. I also used it for the ribbon for the screen because it's still not long enough. I know people think, well, I'll just get an extension, because you can get some extension ribbons for a lot of other phones, especially more common ones like a lot of the Apple phones. But the BlackBerry phone, there's too many pins on it. They made it specifically for that screen because of its width and things like that. It just didn't meet normal specs, and so I couldn't find another ribbon unless I made one somehow to extend it. So for that reason, to secure it or make it more durable, you've got to use that Kapton tape and some electrical tape to make it stronger before you go flipping it over. Otherwise it will tear, and now you're out that $10 or $15 screen. At any rate, thanks. I did like the paint job. If the oh yeah. As far as the paint job part goes, then it did. I couldn't find anyone else at the time that was making theirs, trying to look at like something new. It seems like a lot of people wanted to make theirs look rough. Hacksmith actually did their video. Technically, their video was made after ours. It might not seem like it because ours became popular more recently, but the truth is, so we released it. We released it a little bit after theirs, but we made it and we put the thing together before. And theirs was again a screen. And I actually sent I tried to email them to ask them as far as this goes. The radio hadn't been released yet at that point when we made the majority of it. So when the radio got released, I edited in the rest of the video related to putting in the radio. So, and I was hoping that I would also get the radiation meter before the rest came out. But that's a lot about the Pip-Boy. But sorry. Let's see. Oh, if you play with the Pip-Boy, only to see you play with the Pip-Boy more. That's funny. So I do like I mentioned earlier, like crossovers and things. I think if you because most everybody likes a couple of things. There's been a few questions I try to answer tonight about things that I like the most, and the answer is it's hard for me to say that. And if you look at a lot of the other stuff that I've done in the past and things that I'm starting to go back to, it's really about taking two things that I like, or all the things I like, and figuring out how to integrate them all together. So the build that I did that's for this upcoming week, which all the hype, it might not seem like a big deal in the end, but basically I decided I want to make something that everybody could literally recreate and make along with me. So I released all the materials, and I was hoping that I also gave everyone enough time where they could get them. I got everything from the Dollar Tree just because it's in United States, Canada, everywhere. But honestly, all the items are things you could get anywhere, from China to Mexico to Indonesia, where we are, Philippines. You can get these items. They're things that are cheap, so you'll be able to do this whole build pretty cheap. But the actual build itself was inspired by multiple movies on this theme, and I took something from every single movie that I could think of and put them together. And in the end, it really reflects that. It's cool. It lights. I can tell you this. It has lights in it. I can tell you that it's about this tall and about this big. I can tell you that I'm going to show you how to make props using stuff that you will literally be able to get anywhere. So they'll look pretty good. I hope that's something you're interested in. So yeah. So I hope more people are integrating the things that they like, putting them together, showing what you love. At any rate, let's see here. Saitama in the back. Yep. Did you miss the Saitama? The whole thing about that? At any rate, did bring him out a little bit earlier. I was pretty excited to see too that they've released some new episodes and things. Same thing with, like I said, Mob Psycho is pretty similar to me, and they also released some new episodes of that. So, or at least in the English. I can't read subs anymore. It's just too hard for me to follow. But at any rate, do I play? Oh, Borderlands 3. Man, where did I? Oh yeah, I did mention it though. There is a prop from that game that is pretty Pip-Boy equivalent that I am working on. It's almost in my hands. I just gotta wait some days for it to get here. And it's cheap. Again, I will say this too about all of our videos. When I say our, I do mean our. Like, it's right now, most of them are my family and I. I've consulted with people. I had the Zap Wizard that I even put some of their video inside one of my videos. Chris, and now I'm consulting with a lot of other people too about some different things, which is great because I'm in a place where there aren't a lot of people who have the interests that I do. So when I've lived in bigger cities, it's been pretty easy. But here, this main reason why I started this channel is because I want to be able to connect with people like you, people who have an interest in some of these things that we're talking about tonight that I couldn't just go to work and talk about, for example. And so yeah, a lot of this is about the community to me. And then as far as the things that I build, I decided a while ago, I really want to try to avoid doing things that go outside of what most everyone can do. I mean, I love, like, I'm a big fan of Tested, for example. But at the same time, some of the tools that they use, until recently, I didn't have any of those things. I will probably never have some of the things that they have. There's some things I'm actually afraid to have, to be truthful. So I have to go other places to use them. So luckily I know people that have things, or we also, surprisingly, we have a library where they even have a laser cutter. I don't know if they really know what they have, or what typically happens with laser cutters, but I mean, they do have one. I've always been afraid to have one. I've had bad things happen with a lot of things. The idea of something that combusts like some laser cutters can. I think everybody that has a laser cutter has some story about when the fire started. But at any rate, so yeah, I've been trying to stay within certain rules. I even though I have certain tools that I can use, I'm going to try not to use them. When I did the 3D print for one of my videos, I was really conflicted about it because I was saying, well, not everyone can get a 3D printer. Not everybody has a 3D printer. And so in the video, I made sure that I showed how you could print things locally pretty easily and pretty cheaply, because it is something that is these days pretty accessible, but a lot of stuff isn't. So I'm trying to go cheap and I'm trying to go easy. I know it didn't feel like that with the Pip-Boy, and that thing really got out of control, but but it is pretty cheap for what it is, which was the other factor related to that. But anyway, do you have any online multiplayer games? Do I have any? Neverland. not not sorry, I'm still reading other comments as I comment to this one. I mean, kind of going back to the Borderlands 3 thing. That was a great game with it had some new twists and a good story. The problem, and I liked the art look to the to some of the 3D animation that it used. The style, the idea of being able to pick up things as you went along. I mean, because that one's really about looting a lot. It's a looting game for sure. But it definitely had for me. It had a lot of little glitchy things too. It also wasn't something that played very smoothly on every machine. I have a computer that's pretty robust. It can handle some of the heavier stuff, but boy, I could see where some people with some cheaper machines would probably really struggle with it. But anyway, I guess it depends on what you're playing it on too. Any rate, combustion. Well, so yeah, you have a pretty good collection of Fallout stuff. We ought to, yeah, if you want to, we could always feature that too. I know there's a lot of people out there who have some really cool collections. If you want to show some of your collections, but when I did this for the Iron Man thing, some people sent me some things that they had collected. That, I mean, man, must have cost them a lot of money because they had so much custom stuff that was done and that they purchased. If you go to buy custom things, great if you're really happy with it, but otherwise, just jump in, make your own thing. This is a custom thing. Yeah, it could have gone wrong. Yeah, I could have lost some money on it, but in the end, it has a whole different meaning to me than if I would have had somebody else do it. It might not look as good, but I like it a lot more. I think you really should just jump in, try some stuff, build some stuff. Do I build model kits too? Oh yeah. I don't know what kind of model kits you like. I used to really love some of the garage kits more than anything. The key to those kits is, and where like the kit bashing kinds of stuff comes into, is no instructions, nothing. It's just a bunch of parts, and you get a picture, maybe you get a drawing that it comes with, or you just get a bunch of parts that are in this random box, and it has a name on it, and you're just guessing what goes with what, and they're always just such cool parts, and they're rough, and they came straight from the mold, and they just kind of dumped them into the box, kind of thing. Those are neat. And the stuff that people do with them, if you just type that in, go check it out in Google, man, they're great. They're fun to do. Go to a local hobby town or something like that. You'll get something that's probably more of a standard kit. This can be a lot more money. The Robbie the Robot thing. Why I was so excited about that toy is because it was so cheap. I can't remember how much I spent on it. I think it was like $20. But that same, for a smaller version that is the model kit, and doesn't even come with the lights. Like there is a separate lighting kit that you can purchase. In the end, would be a couple $100, and it's not that much better. It's not any different. Actually, I don't think it's as good because it's not as big, so it doesn't have as much detail. This is really what I always pictured I would have. I'm looking at it. If you're wondering why I'm looking off screen, I mean that's what I wanted right there, and so it was perfect for me. And so and in fact, a lot of this stuff you might notice I'm not buying some standard kit. Typically, I'm buying something or a couple of different things that make up parts of the body that then I'm integrating and trying to turn into whatever I want, and then making it work. I think anybody can do that. I'd say go for it. Millennium Falcon 1. Oh, when you're saying the huge scales, you're talking the 3-footer. So when I began this whole thing with the channel, one of the first builds that I wanted to do was actually that. I think you're thinking of the same kit that I am. It was actually a mail order kit, and not just mail order, as in it's I forget what the term is for it. It's almost like a magazine subscription. In fact, it came with a magazine, and they'd send you only so many parts every subscription, and so then you'd assemble that portion. It gave you instructions, but it also told you about the Millennium Falcon, about the build, about some things about Star Wars, stuff like that. And then and it was made in precision to the actual model they used in the film. And these were the first guys that actually got to scan it. And but the thing was so expensive. I mean, I don't even know if they ever finished sending out all the parts. I don't know if you can get the complete one, but it was a lot of money. But man, if you look online, you can see. I mean, the detail and the level that people have taken it, because it wasn't just the exterior either; it had the interior, which is interesting because the Millennium Falcon's interior was not to scale to the exterior. Like, people who know the show well and know all the little history, they don't match up. Like, it wouldn't fit the same. So a lot of the stuff where you see there's an interior that's been made for it as well, they have to tweak some of those models, and that was one of those where they had to tweak some things. But this thing had an interior, exterior, had lighting kits. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that would be pretty neat. Plain models. If you like kit bashing is where you buy a lot of models that tend to have a lot of parts. In fact, if you want to look up a prop, detailed props like the Millennium Falcon, it's made up of a lot of models, old models. All the exterior are Greeblies that were that's the term that they basically use for all the little details. They stole from other little models from the time, car models, things like that. So if you can get a lot of cheap models and you're a bit of a hoarder, you can keep track of all those parts and build something, or you can also look up a model that you're trying to make, and you can find out usually where those parts came from. So anyway, I have to pop up. All right, we'll see you later, vacuum tube liquor. When I asked you about the microphone used, mine's coming in a few days. It's going through customs now. Well, that's cool. You're talking about the microphone I use for the videos? I don't know. Let me know. Any rate, hello, Lobo 305. How you doing? Hi. Any story, original Death Star props was being used as a garbage bin. Oh man. In a Midwest blockbuster. Really? Is that true? I have not heard that one. There's some movies like Star Trek. The very first Star Trek had props that were expensive and that were invested on, even though they weren't sure where the show was going or how much to put money into it. And they had props that they knew they had to hold on to, and they marked them closely, and they wouldn't let anyone take them. And at the end of every day, they made sure they were checked in and that they knew where they were and everything else, because they were made. I mean, they did a lot of things. All the props had function to them. They did something. They actually lit up and did different things. And at the time, you consider the electronics, it's kind of a big deal. Well, the Star Trek stuff too is what a lot of things have developed out of in real life. Tablets, for example, a lot of the design actually came from Star Trek. But at the same time, and then in new Star Trek too, they actually were afraid that people would be sneaking on set and stealing them, so they also marked those. And then you have Doctor Who, where they have props that were so cheaply made that you don't know are cheaply made stuff, because in the show you see them moving around on things. You can't tell that a lot of the props were just something they threw together in a few seconds, and they were just plastic and rubber, and afterwards they threw them out. And there's big props even like that, like the Death Star, where they got this huge thing and they're not going to hold on to it, And so, yeah, it probably winds up in the trash and somebody ends up doing something weird with it. So strange. What do I like to do? ¿Qué te gusta hacer? I don't, this. That's a toilet, by the way. That's pretty good. Yeah. Hello. I'm going backward in your comments. So yeah, I like. Are you asking what I do when I'm not doing this? Like for my real life, I could try to keep the two separate. So I don't speaking. Do you have the Funko? I only have a couple Funko Pops. If you're really into Funko Pops, and speaking of props that get thrown away and things, oh yeah, that was another thing that I made. Did anyone watch? I know it didn't get a lot of views, but honestly, one of the things I was most proud of was the Star Wars video that we did. When I say we for that video, I mean two of me sitting next to each other. That was a pretty cheap and easy effect. But I built a set that was of the Cantina set. And you get to see one piece of that set, which is where the Funko Pops Han Solo and Greedo are sitting. But honestly, I had more to it than that. And I had all the Funkos of all, I guess you could call that Funkos, of all of the characters that were in the Cantina. And most of them, one of them got spray painted gold for that scene where we're backing out, which I wasn't so proud of how the sound came out on that part at the end. But a lot of them got thrown out in the end because I cut off all these things. The animation work was a mix between stop animation and puppetry. And so I had to drill into the backs of the heads, and I had to take out the spring too because I couldn't have them doing this, right? That doesn't animate very well, and stuff like that. And so in the end, I mean, these were so cut up and things that if you feel like those are, if you collect a lot of those, you'd be not happy with what ended out happening to a lot of them. I probably should have given them away or something like that. But at any rate, I don't speak English, so that's okay. So how are you? How'd you pick that's a toilet? Let's see here. I am from Brazil, and I love your projects. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, from Brazil. So speaking of, so you and so we have some Portuguese, we have some Spanish. Do you like Star Wars? Yes. See. See. It says it again. Who shot first? Yes, that was the video I was talking about. It's not a Funko Pop. It's only a Funko. Oh, sorry. It's a skill action figure. I think the pop are deformed. At any rate, so yeah, I did. Oh yeah, the shot in the face part from that. I mean, yeah, we really did that. So we really. The thing that's funny about that is that was not filmed here like we'd film everything else. I knew we needed more space. And then I took the set that I'd used for the Funkos and then I filmed inside of the set at different angles. And then I used the green screen from the green screen room at the other place that we went to film, the actual experiment where we shot at each other. But at the same time, this is a place for the public where there's also like 12 3D printers and all this other stuff that's there. And all that was making noise in the background. And all I used is the denoiser in Premiere, and it cleaned it up pretty good. But if you think the audio sounds a little funny, that's the reason why audio is because it didn't know how to filter it completely out. And so that's kind of funny, but yeah, I got shot several times. So we only showed a few, but I got shot a lot. And the weird thing is, I really thought I'd be able to move out of the way, more like Han did. And that meant that you're supposed to tilt this direction off to my right. But when you have this thing shooting at me, because the Nerf gun that we used, it really is pretty fast. And he's quite a ways away from me, farther than actually Greedo was. And so once when he pulled the trigger, it was instantly hitting me. And so I'd go to move, and then I'd go off to this direction because it's hit me in the face each time. And never could get it where I was moving fully. So in some of them, it looks like I'm moving into it, and that's because it's just a reaction that I tended to have. But the very last one where he hit me really good, I closed my eyes because by that point I was like, yeah, I guess I'm going to get hit by this. So at any rate, I thought that was pretty good. Let's see here. It's going to do another. If I'm going to do another Pip-Boy, I would like to. So there's a whole other company that made the advertisement for Fallout. I think it was for Fallout 4. I don't think it was 76. And they decided, and they were trying to show the first Pip-Boy, not the like 1000. We're talking like pre. And so it's this gigantic thing. You might have seen it before. And it has this little screen up here, and it's this huge machine. And the guy's sitting there with it, and it had like a big keypad and stuff. I think that would be super cool to make, wouldn't it? I mean, you get to see some photos of this. It's pretty cool. I would love to make that. I don't know. I think. I don't know, Hacker Terminal, something like that would be interesting too, but so many people have done it. I mean, the reason why I did the Pip-Boy was because I wanted to get one and I wanted to do something with it, and I didn't see other people out there that have already done it. So I did it partially because I was frustrated that when you went to look it up, which I think probably a lot of you have, you could, hey D3, it's probably Master Barks. Yep. You are. So anyway, the big thing about it. Now I'm all distracted. I can't remember what I said. Oh yeah, the big thing about it is if you type in and you tried to find a video on how to get a screen inside the Pip-Boy at that point in time, nobody was doing it. There wasn't anything out there. It was just a bunch of lit up screens. Still, that's pretty much true. Now this is. I mean, I've had a lot of people contact me with their versions of what I did and way better. I mean, and I said in the video, I said, I'm sure people can make this thing better. And I thought, too, people would come up with some other things. There was actually 2 Google-based. Well, that's not really Google-based, but you can run Google apps on it. But there's another device that was square, but it was too small. And it was too slow, so I knew it would probably run some things. But at any rate, so that's that. Do you like World War history? It's fascinating. It can be fascinating. That's true. You know, a lot of these games and a lot of these props are kind of based on a lot of that older war equipment that a lot of which just got left wherever it was. You know, there's people still, I know in England, there's a lot of people that still find random stuff in places, in France too, that find random things that are just laying around or that are buried under sand and things like that that are highly collectible or just bizarre and interesting. You know, a lot of these things were also made when materials were kind of limited, and so they had to get inventive. And so, speaking of which, I did find a radiation meter toy that's from the 1950s. Speaking of which, 1950s, 1960s. And this was around the time when, you know, there was also kits for actually experimenting with your own radiation for little kids. But there was a toy that could read radiation. And it's the size. It was made for a backpack of a figure. And so it's the right size, and it clicks, and it measures things. And I actually even purchased it. I had to do it through Etsy. and the person is having a hard time finding it inside their storage. So I'm really hoping, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get it or not, but that would be a perfect fix. And it has a needle that actually, that moves with, it would be perfect. But I think instead I'm going to be sticking with the, something that's more Arduino based. Any rate, you could take an old screen from a phone, maybe an old Android, and use that just the screen since they are relatively programmable. If you're saying like connecting it to other things, some of the Android based stuff, technically they are running with Arduino type boards. But the problem is the touch screen piece. If you don't care about the touch screen, I know I've gotten a lot of flack from people about the fact that mine has a touch screen because Pip-Boys don't have touch screens. I know in the game that it does not have a touch screen, but they intentionally zoom in on the Pip-Boy because they couldn't explain or figure a way around the fact that you have 3 knobs on some of the Pip-Boys to make it do all these things that it can't do, like playing a video game. How are you doing that without the touchscreen? How are you doing some of the stuff on the map without touching it? It's not that easy. Chris brought up actually the holotapes. In the game, when the holotapes are laying down, they're a different size than when you hold them or put them into they change sizes, and they actually identified that to them, so that they're not, a lot of the models actually change their form factor and things like that. So the physics don't work out. So anyway, I'm not too worried about it being touchscreen. Anyway, let's see here. I think you mean from. Oh, yeah. Yep, you're correct. Casaurus Rex explained it well. Yeah, all of you explaining what I did pretty well. So anyway, it's all good. No worries. That's why the videos are out there. As far as the 2000 is what I got. And that is where it's hard to stick that stuff in. The 3000 I showed, honestly, if you're willing to make a 3000, if you wanted to just start out, if you don't feel comfortable with doing all the things we did with the 2000, I think the 3000 is the one to jump into because it's easier to 3D model print and do it at that size. I showed you, I think there's more than one company like this, but I really like, what is it called? There's a Halloween store basically that comes out every year. I'll remember its name in a second. But and they have an online store that you can purchase from year round. And they have a lot of stuff that from Ghostbuster props to, whatever, Skyrim, Fallout. And yeah, they look cheap and but they have the right form. The bones are exactly right. And they're cheap. I think their Pip-Boy is like $20, $25, something like that. And there's so much room in there. You just cut off that screen. You can put in any kind of device you want to that will run that and do Pip-Boy build. The Pip-Boy people, or not Pip-Boy, sorry, Raspberry Pi people have made their own Pip-Boy. With programs. There's plenty of different ones that are out there you can download. The tricky part is the screen that you get. You do have to tweak it to match the screen that you got if you're not going to follow the exact build that they did. At any rate, yeah, maybe that's how they do all the knob stuff on the Pip-Boy. I don't know if it's a push-in thing, but it doesn't do that on the game, so I don't know. I mean, you got to give it some latitude. It's still cool. It was still a great idea. It's a great design. Any rate, and so I do know something else that they have coming out, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping it comes out soon because then I can talk about some of the stuff that I can't talk about. But at any rate, let's see here. At any rate, I hope. I don't know. What do you think? Was this worth doing? Was this a good idea to do this live stream? Is this something in the future? I mean, not too soon, but down the road, we should try again. I originally was planning on doing a build in front of you live. I'm still thinking I do have something that I could do that wouldn't need some editing. The hard thing is I do usually paint stuff, and I'd need that curing time to be able to make something look good. But there's some things that I don't need to paint. Some things that we could do. Some things like some of those kits. But anything. Let me. But that's just cool. Some people say that, yeah. Life size. Boy, a lot of people keep on asking about life size power armor. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are doing it. I do like. I know that there's a lot of criticism about the Nuka-Cola helmet, but it's you can get it fairly cheap. So you go to one of the GameStops when they're doing their sales, and people have been getting it for like $40 or less. It looks pretty good. A couple of tweaks, in mind. You got your helmet at that point. I think foam for a lot of the rest of the body. I think some painting stilts would be great for the build up to get you a little bit above the ground, and then build over that. I think that would be great. Or you could do blocks at the feet level. Doing things like this. I don't know if you can see this, but it's not really. But I mean, this right here is easy to fake. I mean, all you're talking is one tube, but this inside another tube, and suddenly it looks like something that actually would have some level of pressure in it. But the truth is, it's just mechanics. You have two hinges at the ends, and you've got two tubes, one that fits in the other, and that slide when they're pulled apart. And suddenly you've got something that can go between those joints and looks like you're actually having to use power to move around. But at any rate, so yeah, I have thought about that. Yes. Let's see here. Have you ever thought about making a life-size D&D board? That would be cool if you were carried. Yeah, that would be kind of neat. I think that's something to do. Here at the con that they have in my state, they do like a chess thing, and then they also do something sort of like that. I don't know if they're doing actual D&D. Now there's so many other games. When I was a kid, that was the only one that that was popular, at least, that existed. Nowadays, there's so many different role games that and die that you can make. I think it'd be cool to make some die. Yeah, because you got to bring your own, right? You don't want to just use the stuff that comes in the kit. But I think it'd be neat to do something with Weta. Weta's a pretty great group. But at any rate, great. Well, thanks for coming in, and for being able to and joining me and be able to talk to me. It's nice to be able to talk to people that actually know something about all these things we talk about, and they care. So yeah, that's part of what our community is for too. You might notice I comment or respond to reply to almost every comment that I can get. YouTube's hard to actually see every single comment that people or reply that people give to my replies. I've really tried hard, but honestly, I like being able to communicate. Even if you have bad comments, you might notice I still like them. And the truth is, that's because I just like the fact that you've visited and that you've given it a try, or that you're sharing information. That's awesome. It's great to be able to be a part of a community. That's great. I'm glad that my family's able to be a part of that same community. I'm hoping that when everything kind of quiets down and hopefully things get somewhat back to normal. Cosplay is kind of the best place to socially distance in some ways. I know that if you've been to a con, you're like, how can that be? But at the same time, I mean, everybody's wearing a mask. Why not be able to work around that? Why not get creative? I think you could totally also covering your hands and things like that. It might be actually one of the best, most safe places to be if it's done right. And so I don't know. I'm hoping we can get back to it where that's a real world again. So, at any rate, you guys are awesome. I hope that you keep on watching. Stay tuned for this next episode. Like I said, the plan is we are going to be doing something that I hope that we can all kind of do together at the same time, or where everyone can show me their version of what it is that I'm doing in the video. So hang in there. Keep going strong, and yeah, build, collect, play, and we'll be seeing you soon on this channel. So like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you. Thanks so much. We'll see you. Bye.